Hello, friends. This is the first time I have sat down to record an episode in many, many months. And you know what? Today we're gonna kind of come at this totally different than what I normally do. I am going basically to just riff off kind of a life update, where this podcast is going, kind of some thoughts that have been going through my head, what I've been working on, what my life looks like lately. Basically, you can expect this episode to be extremely different than most of my past episodes. This episode is going to be more like pretend I'm one of your good friends and you're coming over, you're bringing your kids over, and your kids are going to play with mine, and we're going to sit down in my living room with some iced coffees that I just made for us, and we're just going to have a good heart-to-heart, like, let's catch up. We haven't seen each other in a while. So yeah, your girl's feeling super chatty. I've got my little baby beside me. He's 4 months old now, which is crazy. He was born in April, and now he's 4 months old, and I just weighed him yesterday, and he is 18 pounds. Like, man, this boy is chunky, and he is so cute. Anyways, so there's not like a ton of structure to this episode. Like I said, it's kind of more of a coffee chat type of thing. So I guess we'll see what you guys think of this. I don't know about you, but like in this world of AI, of so much curated content, and just feeling a need to show up on platforms looking a certain way maybe, or saying certain things and trying to, beat the algorithm or do what the algorithm wants us to do, I feel like a lot of us are just craving that authenticity. And for me specifically in this time of my life, something that I have really, really learned to appreciate is my specifically mom friendships, and just, friendships in general, or tight relationships, close relationships that I have with the people in my life. And I think that's just because, like I said, it's that desire to connect with like real people face to face. So anyways, some of that and the reason behind this episode is kind of inspired by that of, you know what, let's just sit down, fold some laundry, wash the dishes, make yourself a coffee while you're listening, because this is just going to be kind of a coffee chat, catch up, life lately kind of thing. So let's jump in. Welcome to The Seasonal Homemaker. I'm your host, Jynae Schmid. This is a podcast for the woman who cares deeply about her home and the life being lived inside of it, but knows that homemaking was never meant to look the exact same in every season. Here we talk practical homemaking, intentional motherhood, and creating simple home rhythms that grow and change with your life so that you can build a home that supports the season you're actually living in. Let's get into today's episode. Before we jump into the episode today, you may have noticed that something looks a little different around here. Modern Homemaker Mom has now been rebranded to the Seasonal Homemaker Podcast. So over the last couple of years, this show, and honestly, my own philosophy around homemaking, has become so much more clearer. I keep coming back to this idea that the way that we care for our homes has to be able to change with the season of life that we're in. I think that's because I have been going through many, many different seasonal and life changes in the past, even handful of years. And so it's been something that I've been thinking about a lot, because there isn't one perfect routine that's going to work forever, because our families, our capacity, and our lives are constantly changing. And so the brand name, The Seasonal Homemaker, just feels like a much better reflection of what the show has become and where we're going. We're still talking all of that practical homemaking, motherhood, home rhythms, and creating a home that feels cared for without spending your entire life managing it. The name is new, but you're still in the right place. You're still exactly where you need to be, and I'm really excited for what is coming. Okay, so with that said, let's jump into the episode today. All right, so I think where I will start off with this little coffee chat is just briefly, not going into huge detail. I don't want this episode to get so crazy long, but let's just talk about what does my life specifically look like lately. I don't know about you, but I'm one of those people. I love looking at other people's routines on social media, regardless of like how well my routine is working or what my life looks like. I just love looking at what other moms are going through. So as of now, I have 2 young children. My oldest is just over 2 years, and the youngest, like I said, he is 4 months. He's actually not quite 4 months at the time of this recording, but by the time this episode goes out, he will be 4 months old. And this season of motherhood has been very different this time around with this second baby than it was with my first. For starters, in the spring, we bought our first home, our first family home, which we are so excited about. And honestly, like, all glory to God, because even 9 months ago, buying a home was not even on the radar. It did not seem possible. Like, if you would have talked to my husband and I a year ago, the thought of buying a home was like, you could ask us, we would say, oh yeah, like, we are not going to be even in the market for buying a home for probably the next 5 or 10 years. And so the fact that we now own a home and it's perfect for our family is just like, praise God. It has been a huge blessing. And, you know, it just goes back. I say this all the time, but it goes back to God's timing is different than our timing. And just when you think something's going to happen a certain way, God's like, no, this is actually what I had planned for you. This is what I had in store for you. So yes, we have a new home. We are still settling into our new home. I'd say we're actually starting to feel pretty settled now. I have been officially unpacked for well over a month. I am very type A, and I do not like living out of boxes. I do not like disorganization and clutter. I like my space to feel put together and whatnot. So I got right to the unpacking and getting things organized, even though I was obviously still fresh with a new baby. That's just something that I enjoy doing. And so our home is fully unpacked. I feel really good about the way that it's all set up. And in this season of our life, another reason that motherhood is looking different for me this time around with baby number 2 than it was baby number 1 is my husband is working away during the week. And so our rhythms have had to drastically change as a result of that. When I had Oakland, my husband was home every night. He worked 5 days a week. He was home after work every night, and then we got the weekends together. And now he's working out of town. I don't see him at all during the week. And at this time, he's home on the weekends, but sometimes he's been gone for as long as 3 weeks and 2 weeks and then home for 4 days. So it's kind of all over the place. But that has been a big change for us. And this is something that our life has been like this for close to a year now. In October, it'll be a year of him working away out of town. And, you know, it has its blessings and it has its things that are a struggle, but we are learning to adjust and adapt, and it's what's working for us right now. But because of my husband working away, that means that I am doing a whole lot of solo parenting, which, let me tell you, has been a struggle. I'm sure some of you, or maybe even many of you listening, have gone through or are still going through solo parenting. So I'm giving you a pat on the back because it is no easy feat, especially when we have small babies at home with us and busy little toddlers running around. And like, I'm still getting up 3 or 4 times a night with Ren, and it's a season. That's what I'll say. It's a season, but it is a beautiful season. And I know many years down the road, I will look back and I will cherish this season. So counting my blessings. But yeah, it has been definitely, I've had some hard days and definitely had some good days. You know, that's just part of the different seasons of life that we go through, is there's good and there's bad. And that's not a bad thing. Like, that's what stretches us. That's what refines us. I said to one of my mom friends, I was like, yeah, motherhood, like, just in general, but through all the seasons, is just a very refining thing, which is beautiful. But yeah, life just looks a lot different now for us than it did 6 months ago. And I think this season has actually made me think a lot about homemaking differently in a lot of ways. I've been pondering and thinking about things. I mean, obviously I'm nursing all of the time, so that gives me ample time to sit with my thoughts and sit and just think about things in my life, like what's working, what's not working. And one of the bigger realizations that I've had recently is just acknowledging the fact that some of the routines and systems that I used to rely on and that worked so well for me at the time are not going to operate and work the same way for this season of my life. Because obviously, as I said, things are a lot different now than they were even 6 months ago. And I've really had to mentally battle with that one back and forth, because I've just came to this realization, just because a rhythm that worked for me a year ago no longer works for me in this season of my life doesn't mean that that system has failed me or that it's not going to work anymore. It just means that my season has changed. And because of the season changing, that means that my rhythms also need to change to reflect that. And so there has been some things that I have had to let go or change. Specifically speaking, I've really had to adjust kind of just how I manage my home as a whole, where at one point I was doing a certain task every day of the week, or like, for example, I would do like Tuesday would be bathrooms day and Wednesday would be floors day, like vacuuming and mopping the floors and so on and so forth. Whereas rhythms right now is more like I've been focusing on themes of the week. So I might focus on the kitchen during this week, and next week I'm going to tackle all of my floors. And honestly, the rhythms are changing constantly and shifting, and that is the thing that I've been learning is it's okay. It's okay that your rhythms shift and change, because they need to ebb and flow. They need to work for this season that I'm in, and it's not going to do me any favors. Ask me how I know this. It's not going to do me any favors to try and force a rhythm in this season of my life that worked for a past season, but now it's not working for this season. Trying to force it is not gonna help anybody out. So that's something that I've learned. I have always been an advocate for simplicity and flexibility and not having rigid routines, but even more so in this season of my motherhood with a young baby and a busy toddler, basically solo parenting, I have had to really learn how to let go and be even more flexible than I was before. And that has been a challenge, but as I've learned how to do that, every day gets easier, every day feels better, every day I feel more in control, I guess, for lack of a better word. And slowly over time, things are just shifting in a way that makes sense, and it's feeling so good. Because homemaking isn't about squeezing absolutely everything in, doing everything right now, everything all at once. Right now, homemaking is about figuring out what matters and what is actually working right now for the season of my life. And that applies to honestly every season that we go through. So speaking of seasons, which naturally I'm going to always be talking about seasons here on the podcast, it's part of my brand. But I just wanted to quickly talk about why I've been quieter on the podcast. So I have been very intentionally posting one episode a month for the past, how many months has it been now? For sure, 7 months, maybe 9. Don't quote me on that. But the reason I made that decision at the time is I did not want my podcast or my business to require more from me than I could sustainably give. And again, my son is only 4 months old. So obviously before that, I was pregnant and we had moved. If you've been here on the show for a while, you've probably heard me talk about the fact that we moved from BC to Alberta. It was a last minute decision. We basically packed up our lives, our household, made the decision and moved in less than 3 weeks. So major life change. And on top of that, I was in the first trimester. I was sick. I was dealing with a very, very busy 1.5-year-old at the time. Like there was just so much going on. And so something that I tell myself all the time, and when I have friends come to me and I'm giving advice, I'm always saying, when we're starting to feel overwhelmed or it's feeling like there's too much on our plate, we have to look at our life and we basically have to brain dump everything that's on our mind, everything that's going through our brain, and we have to categorize. We have to decide what is a must, what is something that is, you know what, we're putting this away. We're pressing pause. We're not necessarily saying never again, but we're hitting pause. And then what is like, this would be nice to do, but it's not like dire need kind of a task. And so this podcast is something that I decided needed to take a bit of a back burner so that I could focus on my child, on my body as I was growing our second baby, and just adapting to, again, a whole nother season of our life. And I didn't want to totally get rid of the podcast. I mean, I honestly love podcasting and I want to continue podcasting, but for that season, I knew that I had to take a step back, but that didn't mean that I had to totally stop doing it as a whole. So that's why I moved to monthly podcast episodes. But more recently, I feel a pull, which I'm going to say is from God, to show up a little bit more consistently again. But I do not want to jump straight back into weekly episodes and create something that I can't sustain, because I'm trying to be realistic as I am, again, solo parenting with 2 young children. And I don't want to overcommit. That's something that's important to me, is listening to my body, listening to the needs of my children, my spouse, my household. Like, that all comes before business ever does. No matter how much I love podcasting, no matter how much I love my business, those things are more important. And of course, my relationship with God. So what I'm going to be doing moving forward is I plan to release new episodes every other week. So bi-weekly episodes are going to be coming out. So you're going to see more of me, which is exciting. And that is what I'm going to be focusing on right now for the season. I don't know how long we will do that, or if it's something that I decide to stick to. I may decide that, you know what, bi-weekly is what works really good for me. Or down the road, I might feel like I have the capacity to show up once a week again. So we'll see. Again, that's just something that I'm going to have to wait and see what happens, see what God puts on my heart, and see what kind of capacity I have in the future for that. But I want to create episodes because I actually have something worth saying, not just because Tuesday came around again and I'm just trying to think of another thing just to put something out there. Like, when you come to my show, I want you to walk away feeling like your cup was fed. Like, this was a wholesome conversation. This conversation left you feeling either inspired or encouraged, or maybe it was just something that you needed to hear that day. I mean, I listen to podcasts all the time. I love listening to podcasts, audiobooks, worship music, instrumental music. I mean, I love listening to things, and the things that go into my ears, into my children's ears, into our home, I always want it to be something that is life-giving. And so that's something that I hope that you feel when you walk away from listening to me here. And that is another reason why I am just sticking to bi-weekly episodes right now, is because I want to make sure that I am giving you the best that I can give. Now, I don't want to make this episode too long. We're already at 16 minutes, getting close to 16 minutes here. But I just want to quickly talk about something I've been thinking a lot about lately. So I have always been fascinated by history. And if you know me, if you're one of my friends or even my family, you know that I love the lifestyle back in the 1800s, early 1900s. Old homes, antiques. Like, actually just last week, I realized the city that I go to for groceries has an antique store. And let me tell you, my day was made. I was so excited because I just love that old traditional way of life. I love the traditional skills, the way that the households functioned back then, and how people spent their days. And so I'm finding myself constantly going back to the thought of, why did they do things the way they did back then? Not because I think that everything back then was better than how it is now, because trust me, there are plenty of modern conveniences in this day and age that I am very happy to keep. But I've also started noticing how many things about modern life in today's age that we consider completely, normal, that are actually quite new. For example, being reachable 24/7. Like, as a mom I still consider myself in the early days of having a baby, early days of postpartum, being reachable 24/7 and having people expect an instant response to a text, or expect you to always pick up your phone when they call you. It's like, no, Like that actually isn't required, but like that's an expectation that people have nowadays. Or, constant entertainment and stimulation, constant and enormous amounts of information. Like think about how much you know about what's going on overseas or what's going on. I'm in Canada, so what's going on down in the States or whatever. And it's like normally, like back in the 1800s, people didn't know anything unless their neighbor literally came over and told them like, hey, we need help raising a barn, or our barn burned down last night. And they learned things through word of mouth. They didn't open up a phone and find out that BC fires are taking over the province kind of thing. And it's just mentally, it's very overwhelming. And these are things that I think about all the time. And, just like so many things where it's like, this wasn't normal back then, but it is now. Like owning so much stuff today, or mothers raising children without community. That's a big one I've been thinking about a lot lately, especially as I have felt the need to really lean into the community that I have in this season of my life. And just overall, like feeling like we should maintain the same kind of productivity regardless of the season of life. We're expecting ourselves to have the same output no matter how tired, no matter how low energy, no matter how much our home or our family is demanding of us, and just having that high expectation of ourselves. And I've started wondering whether some of the overwhelm that we experience today in our homes is connected to the way that modern life itself has changed over time. So these thoughts, take them as you want. Maybe none of what I said made sense. But again, remember, this is supposed to be a coffee chat. If you were sitting down with me, this is how I talk. Sometimes I'm a squirrel and I'm all over the place. So you're getting the real raw version of Jynae today. But some of these thoughts has turned into the next series of podcast episodes I'm going to be sharing here on the show called The Lost Rhythms of Home. And I'm super excited about them. I just today started writing out the titles and the topics for each of them, and going to start putting those together here soon so that I can start sharing those bi-weekly. So what we're going to be doing is looking at some of the things that we have normalized in modern society and compare them to how people and households historically lived. But it's not by any means life was better in the 1850s kind of a series. I'm not going to be suggesting that we throw away our washing machines and start churning butter by hand. Like, no. Through this series, I just want to start asking and put the thought in your head, what have we gained and what have we lost? And then what might actually be worth bringing forward from the past. I think looking back in historical times and seeing the things that they did right, that worked, that was really inspired by God's original design. So like in simple terms, basically the series is going to be about what kind of timeless rhythms might still serve our families today. It's a series that me as a consumer would absolutely love. So I'm like, this is something I got to put out for my listeners because I think it's going to be fun. So anyways, I am super excited to come back here more regularly. I am excited about the conversations that we're going to have. Podcasting is obviously, I have said this in the past, but podcasting is one of those things that is very one-sided. I'm sitting here in a room talking into a mic. And yes, there's hundreds and even thousands of you listening, but podcasting doesn't have that sense of community where it's like you can comment on each episode and tell me what you thought, or tell me how you connected, or tell me something that's going on in your life where you related. So if you want kind of more of a personal connection with me, I am over on Instagram at Jynae Schmid. I can link my Instagram handle in the show notes of this episode. I would love to see you over there. That is where I post a little more personally. I'm more in my stories at this time. I'm not super regular with the posts at the moment, but that is something I would like to do in the future. But again, we're going to go back to the whole listening to the season of life that you're in and listening to how much your body has capacity for, how much mentally you can give. And so yeah, right now Instagram is just not a major focus for me, but it might be down the road. Regardless, I do show up in my stories and it's more of a more personal thing. I share little glimpses of my life and things that make me happy there. So if you want that connection, head over to my Instagram. You can follow me there. Again, I'll have my profile down in the show notes linked there for you. But make sure that you are following the show. Hit subscribe or follow or wherever you're listening to the podcast. Make sure you're following the show so that you don't miss out on my episodes coming out. Again, I'll be sharing bi-weekly here going forward for the next bit. So thank you so much for tuning in today. I am so grateful for all of you who tune into this show here. And yeah, I'm super excited to see where things go. Again, I'm super excited to show up more and share more with you. So until next time, I'll see you in another episode here on the podcast. Thanks for spending a little bit of your day with me. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you're following the show so you don't miss the next one. And if you want to continue on the conversation between episodes, come find me on Instagram at Jynae Schmidt. Until next time, remember your home is allowed to change as your season changes. I'll see you in the next one.